Hello, in today's video I want to have a look at using corner hot foil stamps, and I've got this one here, little one. This is part of the Celebi collection, and this one is also part of the Celebi collection, and this gorgeous one here is part of the Le Petit Jardin collection. Okay, so the idea of having corner foiling is great, but I know the practicalities of getting it lined up are challenging. That's the word for it, challenging. Making sure that it's an even distance in every direction from all the corners, in all the corners the same. So I thought I'd see if I can find some ways of making that easier. So ignore the bit at the bottom where everything went wrong, but I thought I'd have a look at using perhaps this kind of shaped die cut, or normal square or rectangle, and getting foiling in all the corners that matches, so it makes a frame, or the corners of a frame depending on the size of your card. So let's have a look at how I did this and the challenges I came across. So this is a pretty die cut, but it's got these curves rather than straight lines, and that gave me problems with making sure I'd lined it up in the same place every time on the go press. Okay, so I'm going to do a larger version of that. I've got a selection of dies. I've got some interesting shape ones. So I've got a rectangle one, and I've got the same die again, but in a bigger size. I'm going to actually do the bigger size for you on the video. And then I've got a square one, a couple of different size square ones. So we can have a look at the pros and cons and how it works with the small hot foil stamp and some of the others. So the challenge I had lining up with the edge. So let me just go over the basic process, and then I'll explain why it was a challenge. So let me bring my go press in. Now my go press is hot, so I've got it because I've got it ready to use. But basically, if you've seen how I've been lining things up lately, it's using a magnet. So the idea is that I decide where I want my hot foil stamp, perhaps on my card, and I put the magnet behind, and then I put my card down and line it up with the edges of the go press, and then having got my hot foil stamp in the corner, I should be able to just keep rotating the card and all the corners would be the same. Okay, that's not so bad when your card's got straight edges, but as I say, this one has got curved bits, and they don't all stick out the same amount. So when I came to put this, let me do that corner because you can see it better on the video. Making sure that I wasn't rotating those curved bits, even if they were touching the sides, and ending up with something like that where the corner is nearer the bottom than it is the side, was a bit of a problem. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken the die cut that, okay, but then I've also die cut it from a piece of copy paper. You could put the copy paper on the back at the same time as you're cutting the die, and it will go straight through both. Okay, and then because it's paper, it's then relatively easy. I'll say relatively easy, because again it's still lumpy and bumpy edges, is to fold it in half in both directions. So you do have to take some care with that, making sure the edges are exactly together when you fold it, and then folded it the other way. And then I've put that over the back of my die cut, and then just slip my pencil under the edge there. I'll try and get that on the camera if I can. Let me try it that way. I just peel the paper back. You should be able to see, yep, on the edge of the card. I just slip my pencil under and made a pencil exactly where my fold line is, and I've done that on all of the edges. Okay, and then I've also used my piece of paper, and I will have to do that on this side of the go press. Let me turn the go press around a bit. Will that work? Right. So then I've also put paper on my go press and figured out where those folds are going to line up with. And I've just used a normal pencil to put some marks on the plastic edging. And when you've finished your project and you don't want those marks anymore, just use a normal rubber and they'll just come off. Okay, so you don't have to end up with lots of different marks and being confused about which ones you're using for which project. You just rub them out when you're finished. And that will mean, if I line those up, corner will be in the right place and everything should work. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, but I think I'm going to do the square one first. Let me do a small square first. Okay, so that will make sure I get the corner in the same place every time. As I say, I would just have to turn the card. But then I want to make sure that the hot foil stamp is the right distance, or exact distance from the corner in both directions. So here I've just kind of done it by eye, and it may be the same on these points, but you see it looks the same on those points, but that one's hanging over and that one isn't, so I've got it twisted. So you need to be very careful doing it that way to make sure it's exactly right. And there's something about foiling, people want it exactly right. So let's see what we can do. So I've cut my piece of card, and it falls out of this die really easily, so I've just put a little piece of low tack tape on the back just to stop it keep falling out the die. And then I'm going to take my hot foil stamp, you might want to do this on a magnetic sheet. I'm just going to push it as far as I can into the corner. Now it overhangs a little bit, okay, but if I get all the points as far into the corner as anyway, it overhangs because the raised part that does the foiling, there's a bit of a lip. If I show you on this one, there's an edge between the backing, but the edge of the backing and the edge of the raised part. Okay, so it's that backing that's just overhanging my die. So I've pushed that as far as I can into that corner, and then with it pushed into that corner, I want to get a magnet on the back. Now I'm not going to imply that this is idiot proof, and it isn't a little bit fiddly, but I think with a bit of practice it'll get quicker and it will give precise results. Okay, so I've got that where I want it. I'm holding it still. I'm going to put a magnet, it's a neodymium magnet, on the back. It's wrapped, very important you have it wrapped in masking tape with plenty of tape you can grab hold of. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, so I haven't got the magnet on the back. I can adjust the position a little bit if I need to. Okay, make sure, yeah, now my card has slipped inside in the die, so I need to make sure the card is actually in the die. So let's just wriggle that back into place as well. And my tape's basically moved. There we are. So that's now sitting correctly in the die. I can make sure that's there. Okay. So having done that, I need to then very carefully get the card out of the die without moving the hot foil stamp. So I'm going to just flick it out at the edge that's furthest from the die and then slide it like that. And then if I just check, my die is sitting, and it looks like my foilings might overlap my beveled edge a bit, but remember that's the backing for the raised part of the hot foil stamp. Okay, so next that can go on the go press. So let's bring that over. Now normally when I'm just working on foiling myself, I leave my platform on the base, and I tend to just lean over it and open the lid and do what I need to do. But it's not easy for the camera, and the electrical lead means that my base stays over there. Okay, so I can take that piece of tape off the back now. I might use that for just securing the card in a moment. So I like to do it from this corner. That's the corner I like to work with. You could just as well use that corner. Maybe we'll do that today because it works better for the camera, I think. Okay, so I'm just pushing my card up against the edge of the white frame, and then I'm using my thumb, sliding the magnet away. You didn't really see that. And then I can do that. So let me just show you what I do with the magnet. I'm just going to use a different hot foil stamp for a moment. Line up a different corner. Turn it over. So let's assume I've carefully figured out where that needs to go. So I could line that up with here. Let's try that again. So, assuming I've decided that that's where my hot foil stamp needs to go, and I've got my magnet on the back, okay, I can line it up on the go press, as I using the edges because they are nice and straight. Okay, then hold down with a finger and you grab the tape on the magnet, and holding the hot foil stamp down through the card, you slide your magnet off. And if you're concentrating on what you're doing rather than trying to talk to a camera, hopefully you do it without the hot foil stamp moving. So let me just take that one off. Right, so that one is where I wanted it. So I'm going to put that back on the base unit to warm up. It's only a little hot foil stamp. It won't take long to warm up. Okay, I do know I'm going to want an extra shim in a minute. Let me find one of those. That'll do. Right, so we're hot foiling onto this piece of card, and I want some foil. I've got some gold foil here. Trim this to the size I need. And probably by the time I've got the foil ready, the go press will have heated the hot foil stamp through. Okay, so that's my piece of foil. That piece will do for the next one. Foil out the way. Okay, and I'm just going to pause the camera and get my die cutting machine. No, not yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. Not going to get the die cutting machine yet because I haven't put the card and the foil on the go press. So I want that piece of card. I want to put all that in a safe place. That's my shims. Right, so let's get the go press back. So I'm going to open this, add my foil, add the piece I've trimmed. Okay. And then put my card up against the edges. Like so, making sure my foil doesn't curl and move. Oh, come on. really just wants to go, doesn't it? Come on. Right now you're probably thinking, I'm glad I'm not the only person who struggles with that. I find it varies according to what foil I'm using. Okay, so making sure that is straight up against that edge. I see my foil's curled under at that edge. That's it. So let that go. Just going to use that piece of tape down on the corner to make sure the card doesn't move when I close the lid. Then I want my shims. Excuse me. That's it. Right. Okay. And shims is whatever you normally find works with these your hot foil stamp and the foil you're using and the card you're using. It does vary, I find, depending on the foil and the cardstock and the brand of hot foil stamp, and sometimes the size of it. So that's heating up, so I'm going to pause there and just get the die cutting machine. Okay, so I've got the die cutting machine, the green light is on, so I'm going to pull the go press out of the base, just holding the edge of the lid here, roll it through. Slowly, when I feel the resistance increase, because that's where I've got the hot foil stamp. And there it is again. And that's just come off the hot foil stamp. Just roll the go press out. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, so that was our first corner. So if I lift this off, now I'm not going to touch the hot foil stamp. I want to leave that exactly where it is. Close the lid and make sure that stays hot. So that's just slid back into the base. And then peel off my foil. And there's my foiling in the corner. Okay, so then I need to do the next corner. Okay, so rather than put it back in the die and try and get it in the right place, because this is a square, I can just keep turning the card and it should foil all the way around. Okay, so let's take that off the bottom of there because that will need to be in a different place. So let's get this back. My piece of foil, I'm just going to trim that corner off. Okay, put the foil on. Not curling this time, that's strange, isn't it? Right, so I've done that corner, I can turn it round and I can do the next corner. Lining up the edges, piece of tape in the corner, so I'm not getting any glue on my actual hot plate, it's just on the plastic edge. Put my shims on, close the lid, okay, and then die cutting machine back, so bear with me. Okay, so light's just gone green. It only took about 10 seconds. Okay, so normally I like you to see everything live, but I forgot to press record after that second corner. So I've now done the third corner and I shall show you the result. So we're getting there. And then I just need to do the last corner and I'm guessing you don't really need to see me roll it through. So again, take my piece of tape off. You can see from the impressions on the back which corner you haven't done, but just satisfy yourself it's that corner I want to be foiling. So I'm going to make sure I've turned my card. That's there. Got my piece of tape in the corner. My shim's on. I shall roll that and show you how it looks. Okay, so I've rolled it the final time. That's my shims. Lift up the card, take the tape off. And there. Okay, so I must admit, if I look really closely, it's not exact. But that's to do with how I had it lined up, or it could be that the corner isn't exactly symmetrical in how it's been made. But it's definitely better than I could have done just by eye. Okay, so that's that one. And I'm having to wait for this to heat up each time after I put stuff on. But if I leave my GoPress on its base, which is over there, oops, try and keep the camera so you don't feel drunk. Okay. While I'm actually working, then it will just, the GoPress will keep heating whenever it needs to. So you don't lose the heat from your hot foil stamp. And I have done things like this, not of a corner actually, with a flower where I wanted it going in sort of 4 different directions. I foiled it in the time it took me. I've made a cup of tea and I foiled it while it was cooling down. I might have started while the kettle was boiling. So 10 minutes. Okay, so that was that one. Okay, let's have a look at this fancy shaped one. Now this needs to cool down so that I can handle it. Now interestingly, I do find these cool down quicker on my glass mat than they do on the silicone mat. So I'm going to leave it on the glass mat for a moment and get my dies and die cuts back. Oops, that's a bigger square, we'll use that in a bit. I want that one. Okay, so this is the bigger version of this. Now this idea kind of started because I made a card recently using the Treasured Frames hot cut, foil and emboss die frame, and it's a beautiful frame, but I was thinking about putting a square in the orientation as a diamond in the middle of it, and then I thought, if the foiling's not in exactly the right place, that's going to look really odd. So that's what started me thinking about this, and that's what I'm looking at, making a card with that kind of design. So that's the square one. Now I've got kind of, I'm not sure if this, I'm not sure if it's a fancy square or a fancy circle. Okay, because it's kind of got a circle, but then it's got squarish corners on it. Okay, and as I say, I found it really difficult to get the alignment right. So my paper template, folded carefully in each direction so I get the centre points of these curves. Then I can mark that on my card, and I can also use it to mark where those marks on the card need to line up with on the GoPress. Okay, so I also need the die. Okay, so I need to put my die cut back in the die so that I can position the hot foil stamp. So obviously whatever nesting sets you've got, you could try this with. You know, plain squares, fancy squares, fancy rectangles. Okay, so I'm going to manoeuvre this, there we are, into the corner. Now because this has got all these lumps and bumps, if you look down here, it only actually touches here, it doesn't touch over here because the curve goes away. Okay, so let's get my magnet, put that on the back, okay, and make sure I'm happy with that position. It looks like it's the same, not twisted. Yeah, I think that's as good as I'm going to get. And then I can carefully, now the other thing I need to do is make sure the magnet isn't over the die. It isn't, only the tape is. Okay, if you look on the back, the magnet is clear of the edge of the die. It's only the tape overlapping. So I can carefully pop my die cut out of the die. Okay, and then I'm going to bring my go press over. Now I've already marked this up, and I've got a pencil mark there and a pencil mark there. You won't be able to see them on the camera. Okay, but I took my template and I lined it up so that those marks on the template, actually, I'm not convinced I've got one of them in the right place, so I'm going to rub that out, and I am going to do it again. Since I've got to do it again, I'll do it over this side. So I want to, what I'm doing is I'm making sure I'm lined up so that the curve is just touching the edge, but I'm also looking at where this is to make sure that is straight. Okay, yeah, that should work. So then I need to put pencil mark in line with my crease and in line with my crease there. Do be careful because the go press is hot. Okay, so that's used that, and then when I put this down, which will be that way up, and I like to make sure put my hot foil stamp sort of at the diagonal to the corner where I'm lining up with. So I line that one up with that, and that one up with that. Okay. Find a spot where I can hold the hot foil stamp down with my finger underneath there, and then use the tape to slide the magnet away without moving the hot foil stamp, and then you can let go. Okay, so that needs to warm up again before I add my foil. Okay, so just bear with me while I find some foil for this one. Okay, the only disadvantage to having a good selection of foils is you have to make decisions. They're all lovely. So let's cut a strip of foil. I think that will be enough foil. Let's put the spare piece somewhere safe so I can use it in a minute. It's gone green and then it's gone back to red, but I'll have to warm it again when I put everything down. So, foil. Then my card, lining up my pencil marks. And the pencil marks have to be on all four sides, so I've got them to use when I rotate it. A small piece of tape, just at one edge. Okay. My shims. important thing is the shims are over where the hot pour stamp and the foil is. Okay, close the lid. Okay, set that to warm, and I shall roll that and then show you the result. Okay, let's see if that worked. Take the tape off. Again, leaving the hot foil stamp where it is, and I'm going to close that up, put it back to heat. While we have a look. Okay, so seems to be a good colour foil for the camera, this. Okay, I've got here just a soft brush. It's not an expensive soft brush, and I'm just going to give this a brush over. Okay, I've just done that because there were some bits of foil over some of the smaller details, and they weren't actually adhered to the card. It was just kind of stuck to the bits of foil next to it that were stuck to the card. So if you just use a soft brush, those just come away. Okay, so that's that. So I need another piece of foil. Foil's too small. Where did I put the piece? Oh, there it is. I'm going to cut that just a little bit too small. So I'll use this piece and then cut some more. Okay, so if I want to do this corner now, so that one needs to be there. Again, line up my marks. Piece of tape just on the edge. My shims. Let it come back to temperature. As I say, I usually skip that step because I've usually worked with it on the base and it stayed at temperature anyway. So I'll roll that and then show you what we've got. Okay, so this is corner number 2. Want to keep that warm. There we are. Okay, and again I'm just going to use my soft brush. There we are. Oh, it's looking pretty good to me. Okay, so then we need to do the next corner, and I've already cut the foil. So while I was waiting it to heat up last time, I cut some more foil. So I'm going to do this corner. So line up my pencil marks, ones on the card with the ones on the white frame. That's there. Piece of tape. And my pieces of tape, I've got a toolbox that sits on the side here, and I just stick them to the edge and keep picking them up every time I need them. Usually while I'm sort of doing a crafting session, then when they've lost their sticky, or I've got to the end of my crafting session, I throw them away at that point. So I'll roll that one and show you again. Okay, so remember this, I've only had to work out the positioning of the hot foil stamp once. Oh, I've got some extra foil stuck on there. And then I'm just adding foil, turning the card. Okay, so there's that one. I've got one more corner to go. So it's this corner, so that one goes down on the foil, line up the pencil marks again, piece of tape so it doesn't move when I put my shims down and close the lid. So shims, lid, bring it back to temperature, and then I'll roll. But while I'm waiting, let's think about what I'm going to show you next. So let's talk about the other hot foil stamps I've got, which I have buried completely. So I will pause while I find them. Okay, here we are, all finished with everything same distance from each corner. Okay, and I've just given it a brush off to make sure there are no little bits of foil. Tends to be like the flower centres. It seems to just attach the bit of foil next to it, and that just eases it out of the way. Okay, so I could use that way or that way. Okay, whichever I wanted. Put a sentiment in the middle, put another die cut on top, put a piece of ribbon across it. Yeah, all sorts of possibilities. And this this Celavi corner, it seems to have some very, very similar design elements to the Treasured Frames cut foil and emboss die, so the two work well together. So that's kind of what led me there anyway. So looking at the other corners I've got, so this one at first glance it kind of looks like you could put it in every corner, but it's not actually symmetrical. Like there's a different bit of pattern along this edge here to what's over here. Okay, so if I put it in every corner it would look like it had been rotated, but these corners are still great because sometimes you don't always want the foiling in every corner. Sometimes it's great to just have it in two diagonal corners. Okay, and that would look lovely in the corners of a square or a rectangle. Now this one is obviously not symmetrical. Okay, so if you put this in the corners of something, get something big enough. I have here a large square. A large square. So if I was to use this in a corner there, okay, then if I come over this side, I've then got the long edge coming to here. So that might work for your design, but it might not. But they do look lovely if you do one in that corner and one in that corner. Okay, and then maybe you have a spray of flowers or a sentiment coming across. That really works. So let's have a look at doing that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to use this nice big rectangle, but it's a fancy rectangle again. Okay, but it has got its centre points along each side marked for me. Okay, So it's much easier to actually make sure that this is lined up correctly. But I am going to use some pencil marks again. I don't need to mark them on the card because the shape marks it for me, but I am going to mark where those points go on my go press just to make it quicker when I'm doing my foiling. So let me grab the go press. And I'm going to put my card on. I'm going to make sure I'm touching the side with that, and when I lay it down, that there's a tiny little gap where that curly bit is. I'm just going to make sure all the gaps look the same. And then I'm going to get my pencil. It's only an ordinary pencil I use, but it's an automatic one, so you press the end and the lead comes out. You can just use a normal pencil that you would sharpen. I'm going to mark on there. I'm going to mark on there. That'll just help my eye when I put my card on each time. Okay, and it is symmetrical. Double check. Yep, that's going to be fine. Okay, so next I need to sort out the position of the hot foil stamp. So put the go press back on its base, and I need to put my die cut back into the die, okay, as if it's just been cut out. So with the nice side, yeah, on this side, on the smooth side of the die, make sure it's properly lined up all the way around. And then this die seems to hold on to its card, unlike my square, so I don't need to tape it in place, but you can if you want to. In fact, maybe I will. Just put a piece of tape there. Okay, so I need to decide which corners I want this in. So I could go, yeah, so because of the way the die is, if I want the long bit going down my card, then I need to put it there, or I can have the short bit going down my card. I think I want the long bit going down my card. Or I could decide to use the other hot foil stamp, in which case it wouldn't matter so much. Yeah, actually, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to use this one. So whilst this isn't symmetrical, it is easier to kind of, doesn't matter so much. It hasn't got really a long and a short edge. They're both about the same length. So yes, I think that one will work better on this shape die cut. So making sure my die cut is sitting in the die. I'm going to use another piece of tape because it's not behaving. That's it. Okay, pick a corner. Okay, so do I want that way or that way? I think I want it that way, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get it so that it's butted up against the die in just about every direction. Okay, I'm gonna, yeah, that will do. That's where I'm going to have it. I've just kind of felt where it's touching the edges of the die. Okay, so let's do that. Put the magnet on the back. Make sure the magnet is clear of the edges of the die, and then I can just ease my bits of tape off. I like to use Frog Decorator's masking tape for delicate surfaces. 3M do a very similar product. It's just a high quality, low tack decorator's masking tape. Okay, so that's there. So now I can ease my card out of my die. Okay, and that's where I've ended up my hot foil stamp. So now I bring the Go Press over. Okay, and because this is a neodymium magnet, they're really strong. You know, I can literally hold this like this and my hot foil stamp's not going anywhere. So line the points up the pencil marks like that. Hold down the hot foil stamp, slide the magnet off, and then I can pick my card up, heat up my hot foil stamp, and while I'm doing that I'll get some foil ready. Right, let me change my foil. Right, so I've decided to use this blue-green iridescent foil. It's a Couture Creations foil. The other one was as well. But, this is one of my favourites. You get a new foil. You go, oh, that's my new favourite. I wonder if I'll get all 4 pieces out of this. I don't think I will. I need to come about there. Okay. Get the Go Press back. Add the foil. Make sure I've got my die cut the right way up, so I want the nice side down. Let's put my shims in. I'm just going to make sure that's hot. And then I'll roll it and show you the result. Okay, let's see what we've got. There we are. Okay, so I can fill that off. Oh, that's lovely. And then I just need to put another piece of foil on. I'm just going to trim this piece. Yes, I have trimmed it too small. Bother. Okay. More foil. I should have looked through my lid when I trimmed it. Done that again. I can't believe I've just done that. Because now I need to pick up the foil without moving the hot foil stamp. It's a bigger hot foil stamp than I'm imagining. So let me close the lid and actually look at what I'm doing through the lid to measure this foil. And I want to go, right, so if I've got my angle there, okay. across there. Let's just trim that bit off. Then I should have, maybe stuck to scissors, a piece of foil the right size. Okay, and of course if this was on the base while I was doing this, it would be keeping it at temperature. Okay, and then I'm doing this corner, okay, because I'm doing opposite ones. Right, and my shims, about the extra pieces of foil. There, I shall roll that and show you the result. Okay, so I've rolled that one. And there we are. Let me just put the GoPros out of the way. Just tilt the camera up a little bit. There we are. Right. So there we have our diagonal corners. Okay, so you've got lots of space in there for die cut flowers, sentiment, whatever you need to put in there. Another frame. So that's how to get your corners positioned and how to use them. At least one idea of how to use them. So we did that one that was the corner that's not symmetrical. And then we did this one with the c'est la vie corner. It is symmetrical, so you can do all four. Okay? Thank you for watching.